Breaking news. Breaking news. Breaking news. If you haven't heard it yet, that man right there is going to the Philadelphia 76ers. Some people call him the GOAT, the greatest of all time. I think he's one of the GOATs, but I wouldn't go compare him to Jordan, but he's one of the greats. He is going to the 76ers. Will he be a factor? That's what we're covering today. Here we go, Mr. Nice Guy. Take it.
That's what's up. Greetings and salutations, Focused Up family. Welcome to the July 25, 2026 installment of the Focused Up Show. We thank you for tuning in with us live every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on YouTube and various other platforms, or catching up with us on replay. And we ask that you click that like, that subscribe, that bell, and share to support and maintain your weekly Focused Up fix. I am Mr. Nice Guy. Nice as in the word saint spelled backwards. And today, my co-hosts are Brother Afro Agnostic, star of those Afro Agnostic videos on social media and co-star of Objective Deconstruction. We got Student X, star of Mutant Politics and contributor to Objective Deconstruction. We got Mr. Floyd X, the boss man, and co-star Street Focus on Sundays at 6 p.m. We are missing infamous El Pooh, star of Spin That Back on Sundays. On Saturdays at 10:30 a.m. No Spin That Back today. We're missing Brother Walk, star of Sex Talk with Walk, Thursday at 9 p.m. and co-star on Street Focus on Sundays at 6 p.m. We are missing First Lady J. AB. Thought you was gonna pull up, but sister, I know you probably got some things to take care about. But so let's talk about it. We're gonna talk about LeBron James. LeBron James has a fantastic individual career. He's got 4 championships. The most points. I mean, the fact that he's still playing at such a great level so late in the game, that's never been done. Probably never will be done again. I mean, this dude deserves all the accolades in the world. And that having been said, notwithstanding all of that stuff, I'm just saying, when you go from team to team searching for a ring, he is a superhero. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like,
you think he's still searching for a ring?
Look, you went to the best basketball situation, the most ready to compete basketball situation. You know what I'm saying? You took a minimum contract, basically. You know what I'm saying? KD got destroyed he took a max contract. He took a max contract as a free agent to get away from the BS that was going on with the Thunder at that time. You know what I'm saying? And so everybody just clowned him. You know what I'm saying? $8
million for 2 years is a minimum contract.
It's a minimum contract because he's like, a better. First of all, when you get the veteran minimum, it's like it only counts so much on your on a salary. Like, let's say it might count like 2 or whatever, but if you're a veteran, based on how many years you play, you get more. You know what I'm saying? So for all intents and purposes, it is a minimum contract. You know what I'm saying? So and again, salute to him. I would have loved if he would have done something like that while still being with the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, he did good things for us.
Let's get Student X. Let's get Student X. What's your perspective on this whole thing, brother?
Yeah, man. Bron, it's still, to me, it's still, LA all day. Ain't nothing changed as far as that go. But I mean, you're right. The whole thing about it is that he wants to be known as the best player in history, and the only thing that's keeping that from him right now are the rings. And so he figured that he could go swoop up a couple rings right now, and who the hell is gonna be Philly? If they're healthy, that lineup, is cold blooded. They're gonna win.
How many rings do we got? He got 3 or 4 right now.
Yeah, 4.
4.
Okay, and Jordan got 6.
He need 2 more just to at least tie that and whatnot. So he figuring back to back and then right off in the sunset.
Okay,
so the thing is nowadays is that it's not loyalty is not the same. These franchises, organizations, they're not loyal to their to their players.
That's what Brother JC said. There is no loyalty anymore. Did you have to be loyal to a team?
Man, loyalties to your family. And to yourself. And so that's what it's about. Everything's promoted is their own separate entities and doing what's in the best. I mean, even when you go get a job, they tell you it's at will employment. You can leave when you want to go, where they can let you go, they want to let you go.
So that's what snitches do, right? They just, it doesn't matter, whatever, they just do what's best for them. That's what Judas, what people that betray, people that whatever, turn on you. I mean, they're doing what's best for them. People that sell out, they're just doing what's best for them. So that's okay, right?
Damn. God damn.
It's just like everything else is always about context, it's like everything in context. So like the same people you just mentioned, I bet you they all eat, they all breathe air. So what, we supposed to all just not eat and not breathe air? Because they do it too. You know what I mean? So come on, man.
Let's get Afro perspective. What you think about this whole situation, Mr. Detroit?
I mean, shout out to LeBron James. I feel like all this loyalty talk is always foisted upon the workers, the players. What about the owners, the managers of the team? They jump around, they do what they want. I worked in, employee-employer situation. They try to get to rally the workers up. Be loyal to the team. You're a part of the culture. Man, as soon as they get an opportunity to make more money for themselves and their family, they do it. So shout out.
Sir, yes, sir.
Hey, man, that's what Jason Whitlock says. I agree with you.
I don't want to agree with him now. No, I changed my mind.
Man, salute to LeBron. Oh, if the 76ers are lucky, they'll get Bronny too.
Yeah. Hey, man, if the Lakers are lucky, they'll get Bronny too. Hey, I'm just saying, by the way, if you're just now tuning into the show and just about LeBron James, I'm just saying. Yeah. Anyway, so back to that. I'm just saying, again, like I said, to me, I respect his basketball decision. You're right, as a businessman, all of that stuff. But my point is that you can't give him all this praise and then criticize KD. I hated that KD took all that flack for joining the Warriors. They lost that year. He joined a team that had lost. You know what I'm saying? He joined a team that offered him a max contract, and it was the best basketball decision available for him, and he got crucified for that. And I don't see.
You're right about that. From this perspective, this is way worse than what KD did.
Way worse. That's my point.
This is way worse.
Way worse.
LeBron took the veteran minimum. $4 million
minimum.
He could have stayed with the Lakers and took that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We could use him. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, the whole thing is he want to go get some rings. He needs 2 more rings.
It's not about the money. He like, let me go help that team, give him that extra boost.
No, he trying to help himself. He needs 2 rings. 2 rings.
Now, it can be mutual. It's mutual interest now. It can be mutual interest. What do you think about Trump, though? They asked Trump about what he felt about LeBron going to the 76ers. And Trump said
he was a racist.
No. First thing that he asked, they asked him about who was the GOAT. They asked him who he thought was the GOAT. He said, "Well, Michael Jordan is my friend. I golf with him." Mm-hmm. He said, "But LeBron James, I think he's racist."
Yeah, because he doesn't like him. So everything was just centered around their relationship with him.
Hey, but that's what we're doing. Do for you. Whatever centers around you is okay. That's the new okay. That's exactly what we'll learn. Just go out there and be. Yeah, so you know what I'm saying. So that's
no, but for the record, I didn't criticize KD or LeBron for their moves. You know what I mean? But like I said, if you're trying to compare the two, no doubt about it, the LeBron move was way worse than what KD did.
And again, I do agree with LeBron's decision. I as a Laker fan, I was happy that we're moving on just because I felt like, we sacrificed a whole bunch of resources, you know what I'm saying, that really didn't even work. You know what I'm saying? We got that one.
I wish he would have stayed in LA for $4 million a year.
Oh, yeah. He was killing that 4 slide. I'm telling you.
Shoot.
I think him leaving the Lakers gonna make the Lakers a better team. Then Luka gonna step up, and everybody gonna step up and know that they don't got LeBron to lean on as a crutch or as a clutch or whatever. And what I do remember, the reason that KD was so bad because the Golden State was the one that knocked out the Thunder that year, right? I think that's what it was. Okay, I know somewhere around that was the reason that the team that beat y'all is the team you went to. I remember something.
So what was the Lakers' record against Philadelphia last year? Go ahead and search that. You know what I'm saying? So look, the bottom line is I respect the decision. I actually like that lineup. I mean, I would definitely play with them in 2K. You know what I'm saying? So it's good for everybody. And honestly, you know, San Antonio and OKC has shown us that it's important to build your team through the youth, through the draft picks. As long as you hold on to LeBron and you're just basically throwing all your young resources to grab these old people, you know what I'm saying? Your team will ultimately burn out. I mean, he does teams sort of like locusts. That would happen with Cleveland. That's what happened with Miami. That's what happened with Cleveland the second time. And ultimately it happened with us. This team is now in a position, you know, it's got a bunch of young athletic defenders. Student X is talking about our defense. Maybe he hasn't been keeping up with the acquisitions that we've been getting, but I mean, our big man is going to be a monster defender. You know what I'm saying? This team is going to be very exciting. I'm not going to tell you that they're going to be a championship team, but they are going to compete. We just have to see what they're going to be. And it's not done, to be determined, because they're still making moves. So, you know, I'm just happy for everybody. And again, I do love LeBron, even though, yeah, that's what's up.
Man.
All right, so that having been said, let's talk about some more serious business. You know, rest in peace, Nolan Wells. You know, they had the funeral, I believe, Monday, and you know, and you know, there was an independent autopsy that I don't think it determined anything. So, you know, and I saw some of the comments, especially like Reverend Al Sharpton, basically saying that, look, we don't know if it's racism. We don't know what was done in there. Let's just find out the facts. Let's not jump the gun. I mean, to me, it was a very righteous position for him to take. Everybody has basically been being relatively responsible, you know, as far as, you know, finding out what's the situation. Because I don't see how you explain how y'all end up with his keys and his phone. Yep. You know what I'm saying? He stayed back.
So it was who's that? They had an independent autopsy, and they said it doesn't. And so far, nothing indicates. They saw some bruising on the head, but it could have been from hitting rocks when he was deceased or whatever. But nothing that indicated foul play. And then one of his so-called best friend gave an interview with the one of the top coons, Officer Tatum. Interviewed him. I didn't watch the interview because I don't like Officer Tatum, but he was open and giving a lot of information, I guess. And if you can't explain why y'all left them, it's nothing to talk about.
I don't know if he was part of the three. I think the dude that they interviewed was like, you know, a real close friend of him. And, you know, and he's the dude that actually called the mother, like, you know, said, hey, has he gotten back there yet? You know what I'm saying? Now, you know, he was the one that kind of started the ball rolling. Now, the three, I don't think they was telling nobody nothing. They basically are all lawyered up, and, you know, that's just kind of what it is. So, you know.
So he said they are not ruling racism out.
Of course not. Of course not. I mean, you know, this put it this way. Even if they didn't kill him, this seems like some foul play, something bad happened, and they tried to just cover it up. The fact that they had his phone, the fact that they had his keys, they said that, you know, he's going to stay back with this female. And she's like, nah, he said he was going with them.
So it's nothing else to talk about once they find out, or if they have no extra information of foul play, it'll be nothing else to talk about, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Did those? Hey, shout out to Jamal. That Jamal Hart basically said, I wonder if those friends showed up to the funeral. I mean, that's a very intriguing question. I mean, I'm guessing they didn't. I don't know how welcome they would be, but I mean, you know, it's kind of telling. That's your buddy, and you don't even show up for the funeral. I'm just saying, you know. But you got something to say about this Student X?
Yeah. How does Afro say it when we are talking about Charlie on like the simplest explanation? Say it for me, Afro.
Yeah.
How's it go? You know,
the simplest
explanation. Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is usually the correct one.
Yeah. So usually, look, alcohol, water. You know, what I mean, is most likely he drowned. You know, I mean, I think that's the most, you know, easiest, best explanation. I don't know. I'm the type of person where, you know, where I'm not deciding guilt first. I want to support and search for the evidence supporting whatever conclusion is, and then we could dismiss contradictory information. I just want to know what the truth is, but it is always real curious why national civil rights leaders seem to prioritize cases involving these cross-racial violence or state accountability issues, over, community violence. That always kind of throws me for a loop, because
Student X, they had his keys and his phone.
Okay, they're his friends, right?
So you telling me you're gonna leave somebody behind and they're not even gonna have their phone?
Bro, when you're swimming and you're in the water, you don't have those things on you, like physically on your person. You don't do that. It's somewhere. It's tucked away somewhere. Probably with the group of everyone else stuff is too.
He's swimming. They're like, so we're just gonna keep your keys in your phone. You can just.
Well, I'm telling you, I ain't gone to the beach many times and surfing with the friends and whatnot and everything. We all take our stuff, and I'm the only brother out there when I'm surfing. We all take our stuff. We were stashed away in a towel, put it underneath a rock. All our stuff is together. You know what I mean? And if something happened to the other person, all the stuff is still together. So like I said, I just want to get the facts and whatnot, at the end of the day.
Mr. Floyd X. Yeah. Are you going anywhere or staying anywhere without your phone?
Now, what Student X said, this does sound reasonable. Like, I've been on boat trips and I tucked my stuff away. If I get lost, it's going to still be on that boat. So what Student X is saying is not outrageous to me. I'm listening.
You're on island. If you're swimming, I get that. But now you're on the island functioning.
Yeah. But it's just open. The place just looked like open sand, right? It's not like they had trees and rocks and people had a camp set up. They just get off the boat. The only base is the boat. So the only place they could put their stuff, what it looks like, is on the boat.
And if you don't keep it like that, you want to know.
You're going to leave, and again, you're going to leave your phone. You're just going to be on the boat. You don't have no connection.
If I plan on swimming, I probably leave my phone on there.
Why wouldn't you just leave it on the island if you're gonna go swim? I'm saying my point is this way. Yeah. Hey, okay. Go ahead, Afro Agnostic. What you got to say about? First of all, let me ask you: would you leave your phone? You're just gonna be on an island, and everybody else is going with their stuff. You're gonna leave your you're not gonna have your keys or your phone, but really, most importantly, your phone. And they didn't just give up the phone. The family had to use the tracking thing to find the phone. They didn't just be like, oh, we had his stuff.
Yeah, that's what makes it suspicious.
It's suspicious. Go ahead, Afro Agnostic. Go ahead. What you got to say about that?
No, I mean, it's a suspicious story, I think. But Officer Tatum, who was close friends with Candace Owens,
because
they, of course, they're going to rule out racism because that's what conservatives do. And if you're looking at it objectively, you don't rule out anything. You don't bias towards racism, but at the same time, you don't rule it out. Civil rights leaders and stuff like that, they address black on black crime. They work in the community, but black on black crime is not a civil rights issue. When they're talking about civil rights issues, it's usually a paid officer that's paid through our tax dollars. We are paying for that. And also we pay for their misconduct. I know in Detroit, it's like $100 million a year. We have to give in our tax dollars to the city to pay out people who've been violated by the Detroit police. So, those are just two different issues there. So I think the story doesn't seem consistent. There could be foul play involving something racial or not. But the story, as I've heard it doesn't really pan out. So we should keep an open mind and not rule out anything.
I agree. The last thing he said make a lot of sense, for sure.
This brother says, how are you going to get from an anchored boat to the island without getting wet? The water is at least waist high off the boat from all the videos and photos from the day. I don't know. Well, I know that
you're gonna get wet for sure.
Yeah, the Cajun Navy explained, or they expressed, that in that area they had something called a washing machine tides on there where he was found, where his body was found. So they probably ruling that out. And then I read that the community is getting behind the sheriffs as far as saying that they did do a good job. But I remember I saw another interview with one of the friends where he said they didn't even talk to him. He said after they closed the case up, he said nobody never even talked to him. And they was like, why not? He couldn't explain it. So, thanks to the brothers Benjamin Crump and Al Sharpton for stepping in, because I believe that all families need some kind of representation that's gonna make more shit happen. And salute to them brothers for doing that.
Shout out to Benjamin Crump. He do a lot. You know, sometimes you have lawyers that are that are looking for things, but he looks for racism. It's not his fault racism exists. I mean, it's out there. He's always going to have a job because racism exists. But I'm hearing something about Nancy Grace on the case. Anybody hearing about that? And
Hell
then
no.
I'm hearing some shady things about.
Hell no.
I'm also hearing some shady things about the independent autopsy report. That there were body parts missing that were inconsistent with the other autopsy reports. So
it was like something like the throat or wasn't really available, to the independent autopsy person, so so definitely some questions around, and you always, whenever you look at any type of investigation, you could always find where some people did not do a great job, especially in our cases. You see what I'm saying? So look, if there was some mysterious circumstances around my death, I would want Crump and the boys on, up on the team. Let me say that. You know what I'm saying? That's just kind of real. But like I said, at the end of the day, just like on all these situations, you want to get down to the facts and the truth and find out what's happened, and that's what I'm on. But right now, one thing that did really I didn't know about, but when you guys said that Sharpton came out and said, everyone kind of slow your roll a little bit. Let's get the facts. Let's take it. I ain't never heard Sharpton come like that before, so I don't know if that's an indicator, that, he senses that this may not be all what, some might be suspecting it is, but, the facts ultimately are going to let us know.
Well, maybe,
and then shout out to
conservative. I would say maybe you're a conservative media that you look at and stuff hasn't portrayed it that way, but I've definitely seen him be very objective before. But what were you about to say?
This brother.
No, I'm just saying shout out to Kaepernick too, because Kaepernick paid for the independent autopsy.
Spike Lee, Tyler Perry, all of those.
Hey, real quick, the brother say Sheriff was too quick to say that no foul play was involved. I don't think he went to interview Nolan's best friend Javon because he's under 18 and the parental permission issue. Okay, got it. Thank you for sharing that, brother.
By the way, if something suspicious happens to you, Student X, I'm already knowing. Yeah,
the Jews.
They got him. But see, that's the thing too. Did they? That's the thing too. Did they do due diligence? Did they follow the correct procedures of investigation? It doesn't seem like they did.
No, it don't.
Yeah.
No, I think a lot of times when it involves us, and especially in these areas like Bama, in these predominantly, areas to where we're not around, people are more sloppy, don't do their due diligence, at the end of the day, and I think that's probably what you're going to see in this case. But now, will that rise to a level to where, there's some information, we're seeing some, like it was an insider job, some information being withheld, or suppressed, or buried, so, that's when we really will know something suspicious is going on.
All right, well, let's talk about, okay, we're going to say something.
No, that's it.
All right, let's talk about this situation. So this is a really ugly situation, and again, my apologies to you, Mr. Brother Apple Agnostic, when you first submitted it, because I didn't realize that the person involved was as old as they were, but just to set you up with the situation, this mother came home. She came home a little unexpectedly, I guess a little earlier than normal. And she basically, her 13-year-old daughter was in the house, and there was a 20-year-old grown-ass man under her 13-year-old's bed. So the bottom line is she didn't recognize this person. She marched this person outside, and then she executed.
It's more to it.
Explain it.
She did recognize the person. She was familiar. She knew that her daughter had a older boyfriend, and she got home, and the daughter showed text to the police proving that she already knew that was the reason that they arrested her. So right now she's being held on $100,000 bond, and this was in $100,000. Yep, $100,000 bail bonds, whatever.
And I repeat, one shot to the back of the head.
Oh yeah,
outside of the house. Outside of the house.
Yeah.
Not while he was inside of the house, walked him outside of the house.
And all she had to tell him, all she said to the police, I did what I had to do. That was her statement to the police. But another thing, a former teacher of the 20-year-old came out, said he was a nice young man. He has a learning disability. I don't know. I wouldn't say he's like disabled, but she said he has a slight learning disability. And her excuse was like he probably didn't understand the law, according to her. That's the teacher. But he's dead now, the poor young man. And
you can't execute people.
Yeah.
You can't execute people in the back of the head, just whatever. I mean, if this is a predator, and I understand why you might want to be a vigilante, but there's not going to be any escape about this. I mean,
is there debate around this issue right now in the community or something? I mean, is there someone saying that she did the right thing and shouldn't be charged, and Al Sharpton's on the way? I mean,
I haven't heard nobody coming out.
Okay. I just want to make sure we was on the same page. You know what I mean?
It's if you're killing a predator, you know what I'm saying? This dude is a 20. I don't know about his learning. I don't know nothing about that. But the bottom line is, when you're 20 years old, first of all, if you're 20 years old, you need to have some place to take a 13-year-old. But to actually go to a 13-year-old's place and to be up under their bed, I'm just saying that this is some extreme predatory behavior. It's not okay. That something really bad needs to happen to that person. But again, you can't just execute people, shooting them in the back like that. It don't work. Like, if you was gonna shoot that mug, you should have shot him once you saw him under the bed, and then had your glorious tale about you didn't know what that some stranger grown ass man is up under your daughter's bed. That's when you shoot him. You know what I'm saying? But you don't walk a mug outside and then tag him in the back of the head. You get.
I mean, there's more facts than that. I mean, there's a lot that's still unknown. I thought, I don't know that we actually really know how old a young man was. In fact, I've heard a number being thrown out saying 20, but I haven't actually started to be a fact yet.
Yeah, and then,
well, I know there's a adult with a younger child. I know that's a fact. There's romantic involvement. Brother Floyd just got finished saying that. It's that the mom knew about the situation, but the police are alleging that the gentleman entered the house at 1:00 through the back door, the child, if you will, invited, him in, and then
she
apparently
came home from work or out or something like that. She came home when she, I don't know if she knew already that he was there. I don't know those intentions, but she came home and he was there hiding under the bed.
So I thought initially, here I'm just trying to look at the facts of what they're saying. Then, and then back door, he has, and then, but somehow it's like the mom, of my understanding, was lying in wait, if you will.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, she knew that this had been happening.
Was the situation? Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So there's like premeditation.
That's a lot of presumption.
No, that's what I get from reading what's reported.
That's a lot of presumption. That's a lot of presumption. She came home. So the bottom line, she came home. You know what I'm saying? It's just not an issue of, first of all, premeditation is marching someone out on your lawn and shooting the back of the head. You don't even need to analyze any more facts than that. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you tell the cops, I did what I needed to do. I mean, premeditation has already been established there. That's really not the issue. I mean, bottom line is you're a 20-year-old. You shouldn't be, a 13-year-old can't grant you permission to enter somebody's house. You know what I'm saying? This is a 20-year-old should not be messing with a 13-year-old.
She opened the door now legally, she can't consent to giving up the nappy, but in terms of, it's a matter of fact that, he was invited into the house, came in, so there was no forced
by a 13-year-old. That's not consent. It was coerced entry. It was again. As a 20-year-old, we have to find out about his developmental, because if that's the case, he should have been separated for other reasons. But the bottom line is, a 20-year-old knows damn well the repercussions of messing with a 13-year-old and coming in somebody's house. Why were you under the bed? You know what I'm saying?
Self-defense is not based on he deserved it. You know what I'm saying? That's not how it works. You know what I mean? At all. You know, so like I said, the best case scenario for her is she's gonna be able to say emotional, and she was under duress and whatnot, and she get a reduced sentence. But you know, she getting the books on it.
She has no defense. No defense.
Well, I think she might get as Nick said, a less harsh sentence because my understanding is that she was coming home from work. It was 2 a.m. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, that can play a role. There was already some stress and duress between her and her daughter. I think the guy was older because you keep calling him a boy. That's a man, but he was closer to 21 than he was, 19 or what have you. He was closer to 20, 21. And I think there's been empathy for both him and her. So it's been like a mix, and people are trying to tease out what actually happened. Let me just say real quick: the cognitive thing could be, there's severe, there's mild, and there's a norm. That could play absolutely no role, but they'll have to do look at his last test and see was he able to, comprehend and understand.
Well, once JC asks, was she the only victim? So who I think he's talking about?
Is he talking about the 13-year-old? Like, was he messing with other 13-year-olds? Is that the question? Well, I don't know, because I mean, Yeah.
Would the prosecutors try to find out? Not the prosecutors, but the defense. Nice guy.
Well, I don't think. Well, first of all, he's dead, so I don't think that they'll even do anything like that. That's strictly a defensive of, that's something that the defense might try to bring into it for purposes of like saying if this dude was a menace or something like that. But I mean, really, you marched him outside. You know what I'm saying? Unless you got him on a ring camera turning around and charging you, because they do have a stand your ground situation out there, but not under those circumstances. She messed it up again. Had she shot him under the bed, these circumstances would be completely different. You marched him out. He had a chance to leave now. You had a chance to prosecute. If you were worried about him being held accountable, you know what I'm saying? There was so many, there was so much to be done, but you shot him one shot in the back of the head.
Back of the head. It's like,
that's not.
If it was in the if it was in the front, you could argue. Yeah, if it was in the front, you could argue that maybe he lunged himself at you or tried to attack you or something. But interesting, in the manosphere, I've been hearing their arguments is, that's why you need to have a man in the house. If there was a man in the house, he would have been dead under the bed most of the time.
Look, let me tell you this.
You could might say deterrence or something, but yeah.
No, look, on that note, the last thing I would say on this subject is owning a firearm requires emotional discipline, judgment, and restraint, not just marksmanship, equipment, and the willingness to shoot, and she clearly did not have emotional discipline, judgment, or restraint at all.
All right, Big Cuz says that black people always giving out to wrongdoing. Which one he talking about? Whose side he talking about, though?
Well, just people that are sort of
he's condemning black people.
Well, yeah, he's condemning black people, but people making an excuse for this 20-year-old, you know what I'm saying? That's giving them an out. If they're defending her for murdering and executing a human being, that's giving her an out. I mean, it's fast-ass little 13-year-old bringing, grown-ass men up in the house when mama's out there at 2 a.m. Look, she's got some great culpability in all this as well. I mean, I'd be furious at her as a parent, you know what I'm saying? And this is an ugly situation for everybody because if
Daddy was home, that wouldn't been going down. though. I'll tell you that much.
If he was in the house, but if he
kill
was working,
femicide.
Yeah. So I'm just saying it. There's just something to be said.
Man.
Honestly, look, there was a lot of wrong done, and arguably the worst wrong that was done was to the person that was killed. It's just a messy situation. So
let's jump to the commercial. The video's still long, but y'all saw the number. Coast to West Coast to East Coast, North to South, South to West. Call the brother if you need something delivered. LeBron, if you need to pack all your stuff, call La Brea Trucker so he can move your ass to Philly. You're muted. You're muted.
GoBeAlive.org. Go get you some of that black honey. And if you want it in person, go to the Petty Vice in Venice or to the Afro City Marketplace at the Crenshaw Mall that is still up. Infamous El Po.
All right, FIFA is over. The World Cup is over. Just go to the bar just to go socialize. Go have a drink. Go eat some good food. Play some good music. Shoot some pool, and have you a good time at the Score Bar and Lounge, a black-owned.
Turn up the dial, it's 10:30. Be back. Spin that back show, all the classics on track. From 79 to 99, we're crossing the gap. Album reviews, little known facts, hip hop intact. Saturday mornings, dive into the history. Samples and stories, old school mysteries. Early South status.
Hey, what am I? Oh man, miss. Go ahead, nice guy. What's that? Spin that back.
All right, spin that back on Sundays. Get your workout on like Student X. You know what I'm saying? Your hip hop work on Saturdays at 10:30 a.m. It's old school hip hop. We cover what we call the recorded of era of hip hop. Hip hop started out in the parks. You know what I'm saying? But once it got to vinyl, you're talking about Rapper's Delight. So 20 years from Rapper's Delight, that's what we call the recorded, the golden recorded era of hip hop. That's what we cover. So we talk about artists, we talk about equipment. We talk about the culture.
All right. Where we at, nice guy?
All right. So let's go ahead and talk about. You know what? There's another thing I need to say about brother LeBron. You know what I'm saying? So no. This is all respectful. You just assuming the worst. You know what I'm saying? Gosh, dang man. Look.
Back on LeBron.
No, I'm just saying that LeBron is. Oh, no, you messed up my thing. So LeBron is he's gonna go to Philly. But he's talking about living in New York. So Philly, I'm just telling you, he don't care about your city. He just wants to use your team. He is a superhero. All right, so there we go.
Philly don't care. I go to both regularly. They like bring in a championship. You live in New York. It's like 3.5 hours away. You know what I mean?
45 minutes.
New York to Philadelphia?
That's
not 45 minutes. But you be flying.
Well, what?
You driving.
That's what you shoot. Why would you drive if you can fly?
No, it is closer than that. It is closer than that. You know what I mean? But
So that having been said, let's talk about the ESPN Ryan Clark fire. First of all, I got a lot of respect for Ryan Clark. I love his commentary. You know what I'm saying? I think he's really stepped out and said some important things. You know what I'm saying? I know that Paxton just made a post disrespecting them, talking about he crying and if you're such so good and great, why do you need the white man do your own stuff? Okay, but still, if he
Who said that?
Paxton Griffin.
Oh,
smooth. Okay. So I'm just saying that the bottom line is if notwithstanding all that, I still think he was done dirty. They basically fired him and then leaked the news. So then he'd find out on air, you know what I'm saying? So honestly, that whole media industry is just jacked up. I remember when they ended up the loose cannons on when the Lakers were basically going over to ESPN and all of this stuff, they just literally wouldn't even let these people even talk or nothing. They just was basically just gone. And then just, you know what I'm saying? So it's like they that's just how they do you in the media. So it was real dirty. But I know that brother Apple Agnostics, I know you got something to say about this.
Man, I just think the way they did it, it wasn't professional, live on the air. I think I think a lot of people have echoed that same sentiment. then also I understand him being a lot. Any black man that occasionally speaks his mind and empathizes with black people is always going to be a liability or seen as a threat on the white network. So that's kind of a given in the constant.
Yeah, that's what's up. So you got something to say about this student X?
Yeah, man. He headed to CNN, the crying Negro network. That's where he headed to. But no, look, I mean, the brother, great commentator. But at the end of the day, man, it's like, my God, man, when these white folks let you go and you get to crying like that, you're gonna cry, man, to the court. Do legal proceedings and documents, showing that you were wrongly terminated, get paid. You know what I'm saying? But all the other stuff, man, I felt it was like that victim type of mentality, it's like, dude, you wasn't wanted as at will, that's how it go, and then the thing is that, when you look at a larger business sense, you got to learn how to play the game, and when I say play the game, I'm not talking about, trying to act white. I'm talking about, like, look what Stephen A did in terms of, seeing what the McAfee did, which was, leverage the fact that he had his own platform and build an audience independently to reduce this dependency on, anybody. ESPN came to him, as a syndicated show and brought him on board. So Stephen A saw that. He's like, man, okay, that's what I need to do. So he started building his platform, and creating his value. And so then they can't let someone go like that. And they are making all type of moves over there at ESPN, but in general, he was treated differently. He, probably made somebody mad. It happens. But man, I just don't like that way he went out and go out like a G, bro. You know what I mean? Not like that, bro.
Yeah, it looked like he was there for 11 years, and I know he made a lot of money there doing
$2 million annually.
He's good financially.
That's money. It's like nothing. I don't see no reason to cry about, but I understand when I saw the clip that nice guy sent out this morning, and he was talking about how when he walk in the streets and older people come up to him and say thank you because you represent us well. I think that was the part that touched him and made him cry. And salute to that brother. I didn't know he was from the West Bank in New Orleans. I got Louisiana roots, and I was like, oh shit, okay. So salute to that brother. I understood that it was emotional because he did. I believe he represented black people well on TV, and he's a respectable man. He got the show The Pivot on the internet, and that's a good show if you want to check it out. I know my wife like watching that show The Pivot, and so salute to that brother Ryan Clark. He gonna be.
I want to say, man, you made a good point about just his presence, man. Them goddamn suits. Now he got to cut down on that wardrobe now because he can't afford it. Them suits, man. He was killing the game with that shit. He was looking, and I just want to say something about the student next thing. Like, it's I think he's kind of more upset at that look of masculinity. A real man is not supposed to cry, but you get emotional, man. Like the fans, the people who supported you, and are seeing your being fired as a loss. So I can kind of understand that, and that may be work. That may be a legal strategy too.
Well, maybe, but that's not the way I do it. But the way I tell you, like the way I told my children, if you're gonna put a smile on the enemy's face with your behavior, then you should reanalyze if that behavior is worthy displaying. You see what I'm saying? And so his enemies, they laughing and shit. Come on, man, don't give him the pleasure.
You seen him laughing?
You
see him laughing?
Mad, all this type of stuff, man. Go out, different, man.
Come on, you seen the board of directors of ESPN laughing?
Do I see him laughing?
You saw him laughing? Is there a recording?
Yeah, bro. I guarantee you they are. Guarantee they are. They let you go like they did because they clearly had no sort of respect for you. You know what I mean? And now you going on, the shows and you crying. You know what I'm saying? They laughing.
That's one explanation. I would like to think since he's a little outspoken on the air, he's even more outspoken off the air. So the way they did it could be sounds like revenge.
Yeah, so exactly. So that has been said. Let's skip over to let's talk about the My Song letter to Jay-Z. I felt like this was a great way to deal with this and respond to this because he was very respectful He laid out Jay-Z's legacy. You really can't take that away from the man. That man's like LeBron. You know what I'm saying? He's done way too much stuff to just not, you know, to skip over. But just like LeBron as well, you know. But anyways, so let's talk about it. So anyways, but he basically said, look, when you go after Target, you know, you're basically going after us. You know what I'm saying? You know, when you join Target, when you start going after that stuff, the bottom line is you are actually attacking the people that your own community. So he would just point out to Jay-Z that, look, you know, don't just be flippant about how you go just, you know, talking about stuff, you know what I'm saying? Because that bottom line is there's repercussions to your word, and there's real sort of like, you know, people that are on the backside of your comments. So, you know, you got something to say about this, brother? Afro Agnostics, you look poised to speak.
No, I kind of agree with my son's take, his letter, and also his criticism of Kaepernick as well, because he agreed with to a sense with Jay-Z's critique of Kaepernick and what Kaepernick did. It doesn't exonerate Jay and his history of using black protests to cut himself a deal, but he does highlight. I think it was kind of objective, man.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You got something to say about this, Mr. Student X?
No, I don't know too much about it, honestly. I was just listening to you guys.
Cool. Mr. Floyd X, anything?
Just from what I saw, when he spoke on the Kaepernick, I think myself primarily, I probably owe Kaepernick or I owe Jay-Z a little apology, because they said that Kaepernick cut them off first when he was negotiating with the NFL. He stopped texting and stopped communicating with Masson and the sister Tamika Mallory and them and of the likes. And so maybe Jay-Z was like, all right, I'm going to one up you and I'm going to go to them and negotiate me a deal, Negro. So that's probably what happened. So a little apology to Jay-Z.
Yeah, but also still a lot of accountability, because the bottom line is you still is you know, you thwarting the effort. You know, you're working against the movement. But that have
No doubt. I think both of those things can be true. Like Kaepernick did what he did, and Jay-Z still a sellout.
Okay.
Yeah.
And basically, so let's talk about the Tate brothers. The Tate brothers, yo man, these cats. You know, Mr. Floyd X, we had a very interesting discussion during the meeting Wednesday, and you were sitting there talking about, you know, I don't know too much about these cats. You know, that when people lay down an accusation, you know, I'm gonna give you the benefit of doubt. I hear you on that. You know what I'm saying? Nothing, you're not proven guilty till you're proven guilty. But these cats is out there telling you what they doing and showing what they doing, videos, this, that, and the other. I mean, these cats are absolutely reprehensible. And we'll see. They're gonna get their day in court. You know, these cats felt like, oh, you know, we worked out a deal, you know, so we're not gonna get extradited or whatever. But you know, they must have worked out the same deal with the same people that Boozy worked out, because you know they asked getting expedited, they ain't getting no part. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you know, we'll see what's up. But
so
go ahead.
The rules are different in the UK. They added 38 new charges to the brothers. And they were trying to get them expedited or brought back over to UK. I believe, and I have no proof of it, that it is a witch hunt, and they just trying to target these brothers for whatever reason, because they don't want people who can influence people. And you know what I'm saying? I believe that it's just a witch hunt, and that they want to convict these dudes. It's people, think about the Epstein stuff, at least in America, because UK, they did prosecute a lot of people based off of the Epstein, so salute to them for that part. But maybe that's also thrown in now that I'm thinking about it. I'm gonna stop right there and let Student X jump on it.
Student X. You speak, and then Afro set everybody straight. Go ahead, Student X.
Oh wow! Get nice guy inside.
Well, in this case, we're gonna have, you know, men first right here. Look, Andrew Tate has repeatedly claimed he's being targeted because of, and I'm gonna agree with every last one of these points, his views on masculinity, criticisms of governments, criticism of feminism, and just his public profile in general. You know, that is why they are on this dude. And this dude, you know, he's built such a following and has so much influence throughout the world, you know, that, you know, some of these feminists, you know, have sons or whatnot that idolize him or whatnot, you know, so they on them like white on rice. You know what I mean? Like stank on doo-doo, you know? So, you know, but right now the evidence is incomplete or misleading. You know, they're relying on inconsistent witnesses. They're miscategorizing his consensual relationships. You know what I mean? So it's clearly, you know, they got a hair up their ass, you know, for the Tate brothers. You know what I mean? You know, so, you know, until I see something that really is significant, you know, that shows these men is involved in what they say they involved in, I'll change my whole stance. You know, if you're going to show and prove, you know, that they're doing raping and, you know, bodily harm and child abuse, you know what I mean? You know, prove it.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so I got two questions before I pass it off to you, or two comments before I pass it off to you, brother Afro Agnostic. They're not being prosecuted for none of that. They're being prosecuted for something very particular. So when you're talking about trafficking, if you're talking about rape, you're talking about whatever, you're right. We'll see that. We'll find out what happens in court. But with respect to the way that they present,
what are you talking about? They're facing new allegations that include 7 additional rape counts, multiple human trafficking counts.
Yeah, but they're not. Yes,
additional sex offensive allegations.
Exactly. To the next. They're not being prosecuted for being manosphere. They're not being prosecuted for having a great social media following. They're not being prosecuted for, whatever. They're being prosecuted for committing actual crimes. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying it's not an issue of targeting because they're speaking.
That's how they target them, nice guys. That's how they target them. They trump up charges.
Well, you're saying that Trump up, you just assuming that these are Trump up targeted. First of all, no prosecutor is going to basically put together a case that doesn't have any teeth. They're just going to get embarrassed.
Hey, Pam Bondi, the justice system right now under Trump does that to all of his enemies. So what are you talking about?
Do they get them off the ground? They talk about doing this stuff.
They run the process because they said, I think somebody said it. He just want to see him go through it. Go through it. Look at the old white dude.
The reason why he fired them people, let's use Letitia Brown or whatever homegirl's name is. They never launched anything against her because they had no grounds to do it. So it's a lot of bluster and talk about
I'm gonna say racism too is another reason why they honor him. A lot of people don't understand that Tate, he's half black. You know what I mean?
So now racism.
Yeah, we need Benjamin Crump on the case. They need to call Benjamin Crump. Shit.
So you be okay with the Tate brothers dating your daughter?
Who you talking to?
If they were of age, I'm just saying with the way that they conduct themselves.
Who you talking to?
I'm talking to you to the next. The way that they conduct themselves, the way they act.
My daughter is lesbian, so I'll be hell happy if that was the case. You know what I'm saying?
That's a whole nother question, man. You just won. So I
love my daughter. You know what I mean? That too. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be funny. You know what I'm saying?
Afro agnostics. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I wasn't even prepared to have this argument, man, because I thought their guilt was a foregone conclusion. They have accusations and charges in 2 different countries. The reason they went to Romania is because they, were under investigation in the UK. Romania is a known place for. Okay, let me flow. Romania is a known place for the adult whale industry. You know what I'm saying? So, different places like Romania, I think the UK and the United States, which is, kind of like their main, has been kind of influential in the industry they do, which is the cyber pimping, pretty much cyber pimping. So, and it's interesting that they got the reason they were released, they got the okay to release is because of the Trump administration from Romania. And by the way, I think Sunex is defending them because they're good friends with Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson. They're good friends with Fresh and Fit and the entire man. They are the face of the manosphere. They are Kevin Samuels to the white world and beyond. They are, that's what they represent. They are. I'm saying on the black end, Kevin Samuels at the top of the manosphere, the black manosphere, and on the just general manosphere, Andrew Tate and them are at the top. That's where they are. But I think that it's just like the Epstein connection. Now it's a Democratic hoax. So now this Tate case is a hoax. It's a conspiracy to get them. Just like the accusations against Trump is all the persecute Trump is the political conspiracy. So yeah, okay.
I'm on that. I'm on Charlie though. But look, the Tate's move to Romania for obvious reason. A lower taxes and cost of living. So stop
But
right
they
there.
have
Many businesses, they just them moving to Romania literally made them millions more dollars just simply changing their addresses. Right?
Kept them out of jail.
That, Romania is
kept them out of jail.
to have more personal freedom.
but they were already under investigation though. That they were under legal investigation before they left. So I think that is more of an inducement as to why they left.
They've been under investigations for years now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but those didn't stop them from being able to still pursue their business interests, you know. And then once they went to Romania, they still ended up being arrested and imprisoned for a while, you know, for I think it was like a year, got out, you know, and they start to ease their travel restrictions and whatnot because they're saying they're still under investigation, you know, while again, you know, no proceedings, you know, nothing, bro. Like I said, this is clearly in this situation.
And
one
of the foul things, those laws in the UK, they don't have a right. They don't even know who the accusers are because the accusers is being withheld for however long, but they don't have a right to even know who the accusers are right now.
Who's they?
The
Tate brothers don't know who are the people that are raising these accusations against them.
Yeah, but you'll find out. You need to find out what you find out in the court of law. But again, they don't put those people's personality. I mean, there's a protection aspect of it. And again, I understand that, you know, prosecuting, having a case, that's one thing. You know what I'm saying? As far as these people being convicted, they're going to get their day in court. So, you know what I'm saying? It's, you know, but you got to protect the identity of, you know, when you're dealing with
They are, but there's a lot of misinformation out there. Like people saying they moved to Romania to escape, you know, prosecution. Look, they also said traditional culture. In Romania, it was more traditional gender roles. That woke culture is not, you know, the same like it is in the UK. They're in Romania.
Cheaper sex workers. Cheaper.
All reason why the Tates moved to Romania. You know, at the end of the day,
cheaper sex workers. Lackluster laws, things that are not enforced, you know, like they should. Like everyone knows in the webcam industry, Romania is like the Las Vegas. It's the place to go. It's a big, big issue that's prevalent over there. You know, this, and you know, even bigger than them, this is $1 billion industry, the webcam industry. And I think just one way you can address this, because they are just two people, but you got to look at their clientele, men, mostly men, majority, you know, working class, middle class men, and a few rich ones. What is their fan base? Men. Who controls the studios where these streams take place, these adult streaming take place? Men. So one thing they need to do is regulate this. The government needs to regulate this, and so they can really, really focus in on the age of the workers. And that regulation
regulate these hoes, and then they wouldn't be putting these dudes out of business. You know what I mean?
No.
It's never the fault of the grown ass adults that know better, as opposed to the children should know better.
They're patronizing. Like the majority of the people that you call hoes are underage. A significant number of them are minors, underage people. People who are in economic desperate situations, and you just dismissing them just because they're using their labor to make money, whatever you want to call it. Sex is labor.
What I'm saying is that this is bigger than just being saying that there's men in charge of something, and now that just corrupts it because men are involved.
The majority,
that's not what the problem is. The
problem
is low moral people, you know, at the end of the day, you know, and it's a cesspool, you know, that's been created, and there's people profiting off of it, you know what I mean? And that's what it is.
There's more men involved in the webcam industry. There's more men involved in it as far as the consumers of it.
Because there's more females that is the actors or actresses, you know what I mean, on there.
Yeah, because and that's why they should be in charge of the regulation board as to what goes on. Because there's nothing wrong with that work, but it needs to be regulated, and that will help to people to not stigmatize it so much.
It's getting towards people's lower desires, and it breeds criminality.
I cut off again.
I see. I see. You're fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, the bottom line is it's grown-up business if you're dealing with adults, but once you're dealing with minors, it's a different situation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But everyone agrees that you
say-
shouldn't be dealing
you
with
can say-
minors. You know what I mean? But
Well,
they didn't
that's
go
the
to
point.
Romania because Romania allows you to deal with minors on webcam.
Student X. That's the
I don't hear Student X though.
Yeah. Well, I hear him. My point is that's the whole trafficking issue. So if you're basically trafficking minors, that's what trafficking is, and that's the criminal culpability. But I'll tell you what. Let's pivot. Let's talk about Malcolm Jamal Warner's estate. This situation. So and honestly, this kind of piggybacks with the whole Chadwick Boseman estate. I've always said that in law, divorce is ugly, but probate is uglier. I mean, when it comes to family and it comes to money, it just goes to a dark, terrible place. And as I understand, this person had a prenup, as far as with Malcolm Jamal Warner's situation, and it's like that's basically their only means of getting something. It's a dangerous situation when you invest into these relationships where you're so dependent on the other person, and then you're dependent on this prenup, because a lot of times you can't just go out to the market and just sort of like reestablish yourself business-wise or anything like that. That's why, to me, prenups are kind of ugly work. You know what I'm saying? If you go into a relationship, you need to be in a position to function if you come out of that relationship. Otherwise, you're just going to be held captive and probably just disregarded and be put at a terrible disadvantage. What do you got to say about that? I'm going to go with you, Mr. Student X. If you have something to say, if you don't have anything to say about it.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I don't know much about their situation, but yeah, having your affairs in order, and being proactive is always a great situation, to do, so that's all I can say.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And it just, like I said, with the Chadwick Boseman situation, I know that his parents are okay. So his I'm assuming it's his wife, because it's the only way that she could be in control of this. But she's actually the administrator of the estate, and she's supposed to get like half, and then his parents are supposed to get like half or something like that. And she hasn't dispersed what's supposed to be the half to go to the parents. So that's why the kids are basically coming after her, which, it sounds like, proper grounds if that's the case. But I mean, it's ugly work if that even has to be done. You know what I mean? So it's a tragedy. Definitely have your money's in fair. If you got money, you really need an estate. You need a living trust. You know what I'm saying? That's what's going to help basically transition right into this thing.
Isn't the problem is the people that they put over it? Because that's what it looked like. It's imbalanced because of who's in charge.
Yeah, it's very important. I mean, if you put someone who's not going to do your bidding in charge of it, that's a fail. I mean, it's sort of like with the Lakers. Jerry Buss was a great owner, but he decided, hey, I want my two sons to run it. That just really didn't have the they just didn't have it. You know what I'm saying? And they basically ran it into the ground. So, there's something to be said.
So Jerry Buss' sons were a bus.
Yeah, they were. The buses were a bus. 100%. There's no.
Sons were a super bus. The daughter wasn't exactly, much better, but.
She rectified the ship. I mean, at the end of the day,
yeah, she did. I give props on that.
So we got props on that. I got nothing bad to say about Jeannie Buss. So and she's the one that transitioned them to the Dodgers owner, and nobody's going to criticize them cats. Them cats have put in the work. So again, it's ugly work. It's messy. It's sad, but it's the nature of the fact that we're not eternal beings. In the flesh, we die, they live, and there's got to be some type of accountability, some type of machine in place to deal with that properly. You know what I'm saying? You got anything about to say this before we pivot? Afro agnostics.
No, I can't hear him. I didn't hear Floyd X, but I agree with what he said. I felt like I felt what he was saying by your response.
And
I might have to go off again. Yeah.
What's going on with his computer when he can't hear?
You got to leave to come back. He got to come back in.
His thing is picking and choosing. Whether he's getting like the left, the CNN, or he's getting the Fox News. So
because it's something with the StreamYard. I mean, yeah, we on there.
Yeah, that's basically. Hey, don't be sitting there criticizing stream. Don't be stream y'all while we. I'm just saying, but yeah. So that having been said, let's talk about the doctor. I probably should have pressed you to get that video that you were talking about
I got the picture of it. I got the clip. It's just the picture. So this one brother from the House of Hypocrites. Salute to the House of Hypocrites. He does great videos. Now, first let me say, Cheyenne Bryant, she did a video like she was acting like it was a Netflix special, and like she was about to tell her side of the story because she's been accused of being a fake doctor and hasn't shown proof that she has a doctorate or whatever. So the House of Hypocrites played the video. He zoomed in on each one of those documents in the back. None of them is a doctorate. So he like, how you gonna talk about you about to show proof and there is no proof to be shown? So it was like a waste of time. So the main thing is that she's still trying to press that she's a doctor, even though she hasn't shown evidence that she's a doctor. And so that's what the hype is about that. If y'all want to speak on it, anybody got something to say about this situation?
Well, yeah, I would like to say something. There are grifters, right? We know that lie, manipulate, to make money. But there are also a subcategory of grifters that are pathological. And I think she's demonstrating a lot of pathology. I think, Dr. Sebi, Dr. Malachi, she's obsessed with it. She had even a gold chain that says doc. So when you go that far, when you're like obsessed and committed to the lie, I think there's something pathological going on. Not just being a grifter, but also some type of disorder.
I'm trying to add this picture. I can't add.
my argument is just go finish and get a doctorate. I'm sure she probably got a few classes away. Just go finish. If you've been to college all those years and all that other shit, just go finish.
But that's the thing. You don't have when you have charisma, you can not be confident, not have good information. But when you have charisma and you have the looks, you can get a lot from that. That's capital. Yeah.
You want to say anything you want to say about it, Student X?
Yeah, she should have came with the Professor Zhang defense, which is, out in China, when people recognize you as being really knowledgeable on something, they could just, call you professor, it's all good, And so,
I like Professor Zhang.
That's another one. That's another one too.
Good information, man.
No, man, Jackie Chan, though, he's not pathological though. He's just
he's not pathological at all. No,
yeah.
Oh yeah, so here's the picture I was trying to get up there.
But hey, real quick, did any of y'all watch the Versus, the game? Oh damn, that's fucked up. Yeah, that's
clown.
Hey, did any of y'all watch the Versus, the game versus YG?
Nah, I wasn't interested. I'm just not. Yeah. I wasn't a big fan of the participants. I respect Game as far as a rapper. A lot of his music. I feel like Game is the type of person that he talks about the music and stuff that I care about. I remember he has a song that I thought was so dope. He's talking about how I listen to Cool G, listen to all this, and I'm like, this dude, he's like, we right here, we in the same place. And then the song ended. That was the whole song. He just talking about, whatever. And I just was like, I don't know. But
y'all had me fooled. I thought y'all were talking about the game. The World Cup. I shared the screen up there. You know what I mean? I went to a show to Spain, knocking out bitch ass Argentina. You know what I mean? Can't stand their ass at all. Yamal. So shout out to the game.
No, well, it was the rapper, the game, and YG, Two Bloods rapping on stage, and lackluster. Moving on.
So that having been said,
but I just want to shout out to Argentina being knocked out. Argentina, no. And my favorite YG song is "Fuck Donald Trump." Fuck Donald Trump.
He performed that one. Okay. Yeah, he did that one.
And they got a picture of LeBron already in a Philly uniform. That's a trip.
Hell nah. That ain't LeBron.
So Student X, you brought this up. This was a good one right here. So you were talking about the KSG shooting mistrial. This is a situation. Go ahead and set the table for this, Mr. Floyd X.
All right. So out here in Sacramento, they had a shooting in, I think it was 2022, where some guys two sets of gangs. I know that they was going back and forth on social media, and they end up meeting right here in downtown Sac. It's a busy area at night. It's a lot of club scene, and Sacramento is a popping town at night. To most people don't know that, but so
by
one
Sacramento
of them,
standards.
huh? Okay. So what happened? The guns came out. They met up, or somebody started shooting at the one, and then the ones that's on trial are actually the ones, according to the reports, are actually the ones who retaliated because the other side started shooting at them first. So they popped the trunk and shooting back and forth. I think they killed like 3 or 4 people or something.
Six,
Six.
and 12 injured.
So 6. So 3 other people that was killed was the ones that initiated the shooting. And so they say they don't call them victims. Only 3 victims were the 3 innocent bystanders. So 6 people total died, but 3 of them were innocent. And so these brothers went on trial. So the question is that self-defense? Because the mistrial is because one person in the jury felt like it was self-defense. So if you go to social media, it's on 2 sides. People are saying, "I'm glad them brothers are free because all they did was defend themselves." And then the family members of the 3 actual victims was on the news expressing they feel disappointment because justice isn't served for the people that killed their family. So the question is, in y'all opinion, what do y'all think about this whole situation?
Okay. So this is the big problem. Again, you guys met up at a place to do war. You know what I'm saying? So this is really not so much of a pure self-defense situation on its base. That's just amongst the gang people. You know what I'm saying? But when you're talking about innocent bystanders, look, you always have the responsibility to not kill people that don't have anything involved with what's going on. You know what I'm saying? I can understand that sometimes you be in a panic and you just might fire indiscriminately. Sometimes you're not very skilled at a marksman, so maybe you're not great at hitting your target. We know that a lot of bystanders get caught up in all type of shootings, but you know what? You have a responsibility to not hit somebody that doesn't need to be hit. You know what I'm saying? That has nothing to do with this. So you don't get to be like, well, dang, you were protecting yourself. No, you took somebody's life that didn't have shit to do with this. You know what I'm saying? That's like, for example, I remember when everyone's making run on bullets and people wanted to get, shotgun bullets and like all the shells, all the buckshot was done. So what was pretty much was left was like, slugs and birdshot. And they're like, boy, you don't want to get those slugs because, it's going to go through this wall. It's going to go through that wall. And at the end of the day, that's your responsibility. You know what I'm saying? I understand that you can be in a tough situation, but it's never a free pass to do anything to any innocent, to any third party. You deserve to be held accountable. And if that's my people, I don't need the court. I'm coming out.
What's your take, Student X? What's your take?
Sacramento.
The military fatigue. Tell us what you think
like
about
Compton. You know what I'm saying? You gotta recognize, but no, bro. The thing is that this was extremely complicated case, extremely complicated case from the beginning. And then where Nice was missing is he was addressing, these criminals. You know what I'm saying? Like they got, a personal safety of others, at the utmost, of their priorities. You know what I mean? That's not how it goes down. Where the problem was with the prosecutors, right? Because this was an extremely complicated case from the beginning. 6 people killed, 12 others wounded, multiple shooters, numerous firearms, extensive forensic evidence, surveillance video, cell phone evidence, witness testimony. But the biggest challenge was going to be, okay, which defendant was legally responsible for which acts, beyond a reasonable doubt. So it just was weird how they were moving forward with this in the first place. So I think they made a terrible, mismanagement, just at how they approached the case, which is why, in California, these criminals, man, I mean, there's never any accountability. It's crazy, how things go down. And a lot of it has the weak ass laws, the weak ass murder. That we have, here inside this state, and then really the publics, will really at times to let people go themselves, you know what I mean, and advocate, for criminals. It's crazy, but the options are either retry the case, that's most likely, reduce or modify their charges. That's what they should do. That'll give them a better chance against some type of conviction.
But they did that though, right? Because they went from first degree to second degree, and then it was just they still was deadlock on both. Because I remember the first one was that it was first degree murder. Then
it went to first. But again, it just goes back to the thing is that how are you going to prove which defendant was legally responsible for which act? What I mean? It's just this was a shootout at the OK Corral. Bullets was flying all over. They still don't know if they got everybody involved. That was involved in the shooting.
They must not have the rules that are in many places. Where the bottom line is, if you are part of the party that commits this crime, everybody.
Yeah, the felony murder rule doctrine. We all know about it, but like I say, at the end of the day, this goes before a jury. And their case was weak to the jury, who wanted to send these people away.
Presumably, because a jury. We've always said a jury is 12 people not smart enough to get out of jury duty. So sometimes juries drop the ball. But so what are you about to say?
I think that's super foul. It's
it's the truth. It's the truth.
To serve on this jury, and that's how we get proper representation. For these trials and whatnot. But now,
real quick,
allocations to help people.
Do the next. So, do you feel like there should be a retrial? A retrial?
I mean, yeah, there should be a retrial, and there's going to be a retrial. It's just going to be a question of how they're going to go about it. How they're going to move forward. To where you could get all 12 jurors, to say yes, we agree with this particular outcome.
All right, Brother Afro, what's your take on this whole thing?
Man, I think everybody involved was a victim. That was murdered or that was injured. You got innocent victims, you have guilty victims, but everybody's a victim. I think as far as accountability, I'm assuming these are black and brown gangs. Black and brown people are held the most legally accountable of any group. We get the longer sentences, the harsher, conditions and what have you. So that's without a doubt. But as far as I think, when we look at this, we're starting to see an overlap between mass shootings and gang shootings. Gang shootings used to involve one or two people, but never really mass shooting. There was another case in California that came out where they shot up the whole party. It was like a baby's birthday party or something. Stockton. Yeah, it was another
hour from here.
North California, man.
Yeah, so I'm saying one way to deal with that and make it less likely is, man, some type of enforce some gun trafficking laws or reduce the slug. I mean, do we really need domestically these type of weapons? Because when gangs start using this, I'm saying, on a mass and turning their shootings into mass shootings, man, that's gonna be terrible.
I'll say something about this, Mr. Afro, is that the laws are only going to stop the civilians from getting those type of things. The criminals are still going to get access to that. So there's something to be said about basically being able to compete with the criminals. So
I was saying the gun manufacturers too, the type of guns that they produce domestically to be purchased. I'm saying? Again, I know
Yeah, but I'm just saying that even if you have those type of limitations, because California does have limitations. There's only certain type of guns. Guns are manufactured.
Yeah, some whack ass limitations. Let me tell you.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying that but again, criminals don't have those limitations. You're basically,
but that's most criminals do though. You know what I'm saying? Because I was a criminal. I know that I only have access to certain types of guns. I wasn't a high level criminal. They're going to get it.
Wait. You may not found the access to it, because I'm telling you right now, I can get whatever the hell type of
gun. No, but it's limited. I'm saying it's limited. It's limited and restricted based on your money, your assets and resources.
Now I want to say something about Liberty Twitcher. He was being tongue in cheek and stuff like that. And even it kind of goes back to what Student X was saying. There may be some type of leniency on the left about some type of criminality. That usually doesn't apply with murder. I'm just saying that, that usually doesn't work that way. I'm just saying that the sympathy pretty much it tends to be out of the window. It doesn't apply to murder type situations. But I thought you were about to say something, Mr. Floyd X, before we jumped in. Am I correct, or did I,
Hold up.
You might have forgot. But so that let's talk about that. What I want to jump to. Could you play that video?
That's okay. So this is it has no audio. It's just a video. Let's do that. There we go.
The 3-point get up is crucial. You need to learn this. Don't be like this guy stuck on the floor under his wife.
Okay, this video to me is absolutely disgraceful. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You talk about manosphere or stuff like that. I'm just saying it like, you know, this dude is squaring up with your woman. And you're sitting there watching. First of all, if you look in the very beginning, the little girl jumps in to defend. You know what I'm saying? She jumps into the fray without.
Shout out to the little girl with the yellow shirt.
Exactly. Yeah. And this man is basically damn near hiding behind her. Even the woman at some point has the wherewithal to grab the cart and basically use it to create some type of separation. It's like she is processing self-defense of this family. You know what I'm saying? And this dude is like, I mean, obviously he's fucking scared or whatever. I don't fault a person for feeling what you feel, whatever it is. You feel what you feel, but you got to step it up and compartmentalize and deal with this situation. This dude is looking at your woman squaring up. Dude, you should have been going right for his throat, eyes, groin, whatever. You're in a store with all type of stuff that you could use as a weapon. This dude needed to die. I understand he snuck you, but you recovered enough. There's no way that you allow this to play out like it did. It was absolutely disgraceful, you know. I mean, it just, you know, this dude attacked this dude in front of his family and then was trying to square up with a female. That dude is super sucker.
Watching that video was shameful. I was embarrassed for manhood. Like, what kind of shit is this, dude? The wife and the children, or the girl and the children, should have been out the way. You should have been all over them, just like nice guys say. I couldn't watch it and just sit there. The first time I saw it, I was like, what the fuck is this? It pissed me off, and you know, it was a disgusting showing of what manhood. I hope that our young men are being taught to fight like hell, especially defend your family. The women and the children are supposed to be defended. If a man come run up on you and start fighting you, you fight back, and you just make sure that you get the best of him, the best you can, give it all you got. Never give up.
Amen. Student X, what you got to say about this?
So I'm gonna say something on this, but I'm gonna pivot real briefly, you know, to that last subject. Is here in California, law requires juveniles convicted of even the most serious crime, which is murder, to serve their sentence in county juvenile halls, but then they must be released on or before their 26th birthday. So I just wanted to go ahead and refute what you were talking about. But going back to this situation right here is that, you know, agree, you know, the dude's a sucker, you know, for sure. However, I do want a little bit more context in this situation, like, you know, because the only way I could even defend him a little bit in this situation would be if the female was stepped out of line, got the running off her mouth, said this something, and then it sparked old dude, you know, Rocky, I'm gonna call him, you know, to start doing what he did, you know what I mean, in terms of engaging, you know what I mean. But in terms of also what Mr. Nice said is that, you know, he did not deserve to die. You know, you have to meet force with a reciprocal force. You can't go over that line. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, pin him, you know, put him down, knock him out, you know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean? But killing them, you know, that would have been a little bit to the extreme, unless some sort of weapon, you know, became, you know, present, you know, or was visible.
Mr. Alpha Agnostics.
I mean, words are words, you know. Words are words. You know, you put your hands on me, that's a different thing. To me, you know, something is. I don't know the context. I don't know if the brother had a heart condition. Maybe he just recently got out of the hospital. But you know, there were resources to look like a can of tomatoes. You know, anything. The buggy. You know, what I'm saying I don't know if he was lacking those skills, but you know, if Clarissa Shields is with a 70-year-old man, Clarissa Shields needs to man up. She needs to step up and perform self-defense. So to me, it's not about gender necessarily, but he's the bigger person. He has more muscle mass. If you're not injured, I don't know why why is she in front of you? Why is your daughter thinking better than you? My first instinct was get the kids out the way. I tell my girl, get, I'm literally pushing her. Like, get the fuck out the way. You know what I'm saying? I'm focused on this. I'm looking at him, pushing her out the way. So I don't know.
Man.
Yeah, it just disturbed the hell out of me. All I got to say is, You got to learn something. This is a teachable moment. All I kept thinking about is like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad I wasn't in that store because I don't want to be getting involved in other people's stuff. I'm just saying, really, because it's dangerous. You know what I'm saying? I've broken up fights, and I know how, like, when it's a domestic situation, a male and a female, you can be trying to save a female, but if you get the thumping on that guy, she'll protect him and attack you. It's a dangerous type of situation.
Bruh, I don't involve myself in a situation like that these days unless
I don't break up fights. I don't break up fights.
Notwithstanding what I just said, there's no fucking way I don't destroy that dude from behind. He's never going to see me coming. He's sitting there squaring up with that female. If I'm with my wife, I'm just saying, I'm sorry about how this is about to play out, but there's no fucking way I'm about to sit there and watch this bullshit right here. He may not be stepping up to this shit, but I'm about to do something. Like I said, I'm not going to be fighting fair. I'm not going to be whatever. It's going to be a problem. It's just not okay.
So you're saying if you would have seen that situation and the dude, even with the dude there, you would have stepped into that?
I'm not letting this black man, attack this female that's protecting her husband and her family and stuff like that. There's no fucking way that I could live with myself. I couldn't walk away with myself and feel like a human being. I'm just telling you, I'm not going to be sitting there. Like, I might be like, it's possible depending on how I feel. Like, if this dude's like unhinged, then I'm just going to deal with this situation. But if I feel like I can be like, hey, you know what I'm saying? But I'm going to tell you right now, if that aggression pivots to me at all, it's going to be extreme violence.
I've done that though several times though. I've had to because I lived on E14 and 23rd East Oakland. You know what I'm saying? That's the track. Everyone knows that you're out there. That is the track. I'm looking out my window. It's sex workers all day, and occasionally some pimps, some dudes. They get heavy-handed, and I would like a hit. Okay, that's done and did. I can't intervene, but you're not gonna sit there and beat her. You know what I'm saying? I had to intervene several times. That's not going to happen on my watch.
That's a little bit of a different situation. I commend you for taking that position. I mean, that's a whole lot more dangerous. I mean, if I lived there, you know what I'm saying?
Look, I don't know if that's incredibly brave or incredibly stupid.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's a little bit different. That's a little bit different type of situation.
When I say intervene, I don't necessarily physically intervene, but I'm going to say something that causes. Because my whole goal, I'm not going to sit there and observe you or hear you sitting up there beating a woman. You hit her once or whatever, but you're not going to sit up there and be beating her. No, I got to do something. I'm going to throw a rock, something.
Yeah, because my point is that if I have to do something, I'm going to have to eliminate the future threat. That's why I'm going to be like, well, I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to do something to this guy. I'm going to have to take him in the backyard, chop him up, and get rid of whatever.
You going to kill his sons too? You go kill his son?
I won't go after I won't. Yeah. Put it this way: if I'm exposed like that, and I perceived as a real threat, brother, what's that dude in the Bible? Wiped out his whole seed and stuff like that. I mean, if that's how it's got to be. That's how it's got to be. It's an ugly situation. That's why I do my best to try to diffuse conflict. I really want everybody to live. I want everybody to work, but I'm not going to be sitting there looking over my shoulder. If there's the slightest chance that there's going to be issues, retaliation, I'm not going to say too much here on camera, but it's not going to be much restraint. It's not going to be, and I'm telling you, I'm going to sleep like a fucking baby after. But I think we kind of covered. Do you really want to cover anything more than what we talked about, Mr. Floyd X?
I think we did. Some things to cover. Man, are you crazy?
The Hegseth, what, the military? Which one?
Mr. Student X, what do you want to talk about, brother?
I mean, I just like right now, it's we are ignoring the headwinds, something fierce, and you talk about being proactive. There is no planning or discussion inside of damn near the United States of America, let alone the black community. But I mean, this what's going on with this war and where things are going right now. There are things that are absolutely that we know for a fact is about to happen. And that means that we're about to see some extreme hyperinflation here at home. But then across the whole world, this whole war is more than just dealing with something that is just a conflict geopolitically, but we're talking about global agricultural food security crisis that is literally on the horizon right now. And it's crazy how people aren't even really talking about it and really moving on this situation, at all. And there's been some incredible articles that's come about, in terms of why this is the reality. You're talking about headwinds include a global depression, that we're looking at, right now.
To the next. What do you recommend us as the typical citizen do about it? Because what's going on is Trump is with this war and
Great
making
question.
all this shit. What can we do?
Great question. And the thing is right now, what I'm about to say is going to divide families right now, because what happens is when you start taking on a mindset of preparedness. I'm not on the vote, so whoever's talking about voting, you know what I mean? That's not going to solve your problem. There's not going to be some
it's part of it.
Black
it's
women.
part of it. If Trump wasn't the president,
let him get it out. Nice guy, let him get it out.
Go ahead.
At all. What's going to save, your behind is what you do proactively right now, which is, to start identifying a team and building a team, around certain, skills that needed to be developed. There's tools, that one needs to have, and there's allocations of resources that have to be, changed from, probably what you're doing, because resources are so scarce these days. And right now, what I mean by families, separating, if you're truly in a preparedness mindset and you have a mindset and an understanding of that, there's about to be food shortages and security, rising fuel costs, food costs, people, increased crime, scarcity. If you're in that mindset, the potential of insurrection and civil war, if you have any of that, if you see any of those headwinds as being something that is a reality, then what you do now is what is going to help you then, because to react in that type of situation, there's going to be no time. So it takes, putting resources to get supplies that you need, and not just supplies, but you have to train. It's not enough to just go buy a bunch of firearms, get some things, and then it's like, okay, I'm ready. No, you got to get out there. You need to train, you got to utilize these things. You got to, get dialed in. You got to look at more than just, guns and ammo. You got to look at water, food, power, there's a whole thing. And so if you're doing this as a community, then you have a better chance of being able to, fill those needs instead of just having it all as an individual, right now. So what I'm saying is that people need to pull away from doing what's been comfortable for you, reallocate your resources to making sure, in extreme situations that you first could make sure you could take care and secure yourself, more than anything, because if you can't, then in those hours that you're a threat to everybody else, because you're going to be fighting to survive, you'll be willing to do anything to survive, and you're going to just be a threat, in that type of hour. So, that's my whole thing in America, and we think that we're just shielded, from these aspects, but we're looking at right now, just down the street from me, man, we had some dude, whacked out on drugs, homeless, went to a Starbucks, tried to stab the people inside the Starbucks. They locked themselves, called police. He ended up walking down the street. 2 women were in their garage. The garage was up. He went in the garage, killed both them women, before cops, came and subdued them. But we're seeing this all over, all the time, in every city. This drug problem, with these cartels, and that, and that's here in this inside our country, man, it is creating some dynamics, that are going to be dangerous as scarcity approach.
Brother, nice guy, you want to add anything to that, or what's your take on this?
I mean, look, I believe in preparedness in general. You know what I'm saying? I do think that, first of all, I don't think anything that Iran is going to be doing that's going to particularly, or any of the situation with Iran, as far as what's actually going to play out, is going to have a terrible impact really on the water supply so much. I mean, it could. I'm not saying it, but I'm just saying I don't believe that that's going to be much of a real reality. As far as power, I got solar power. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm completely independent if it, it needs to come to that. When you're talking about food, stuff like that's going to affect all of us. honestly, population is going to affect us, you know, as far as food and stuff like that. You know, these presidents, they get elected, they see scary things without the wars, without all of this stuff. It's just that the bottom line is there's the resources that we're all trying to use and deal with, they're limited, so they're real problems. That having been said, there's something to be said about well, just responsible management of that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And for anybody to think that the vote doesn't matter, it absolutely matters, because if Trump wasn't the president, what's going on in Iran would not be going on. Definitely not to the extent that's going on. But what are you about to say, student next? Afro-agnostics, go ahead.
No, and speaking of electoral politics, is that's important, but it's only a tactic thing. Exactly. I think the most important thing, is to organize and form, organizations. Join an organization. Even what Student X is talking about is people organizing with people in their community or organizing a network to, for emergency preparedness. That's actually what it is. Emergency preparedness is very important.
And he's under no matter what the circumstances. Organized.
No matter what the circumstances, Because and the chief problems are not necessarily. Trump is the MAGA is exacerbating the problem, but one of the chief problems is capitalism. This happens regularly on a 20-year cycle. You have recessions, so you couple the recessions with the austerity, cutting back, resources to the poor people, on top of this fascistic stuff that's taking away the people's rights. Yeah, you have a bad situation on your hand approaching 2027 when the naturally occurring recession occurs.
Yeah, you made a great point. The thing is that I was talking about a lot of geopolitical things, but again, emergency management is what it's all about. Mr. Nice was talking about how he set up in his home, bro. You're in LA. There are plenty of things that will move your ass out your home. You have nothing to do about it, whether it be fire, whether it be riots, earthquakes. You might not be able to sit inside the same place. So then when you move, or is your vehicle now, a mobile HQ, and beachhead that's going to allow you to have your supplies and needs, be able to endure away from home. So disaster preparedness.
I don't live in a place that's like a real fire threat like that. Fires can happen anywhere, but I'm just saying that, for people that are outside of LA, you always hear about these fires and stuff. Those are particular situations that are highly prone to deal with that, especially near the mountains and all of this stuff like that. So I'm just saying, that, just so you know, people from here, we always go, that's them people's problem. And it's the real problem. And my condolences and grieving to those people that they're exposed to that type of stuff. But that's
one of the biggest hindrance to people getting help or being victims to Hurricane Katrina was they didn't have cars, because they're poor. So poor people are going to be, and this is why electoral politics is very important, because you try to mitigate this and give people more resources so they can best prepare themselves in emergency situations.
Well, don't
rely on the government. Honestly, organize whatever you can do on a local personal level to control. That's always going to be in your best interest. I mean, that's why even when I talk about gangs, I go, look, I understand gang culture. I'm saying? I'm not a gang member, never been a gang member, been around gang members most of my life. You know what I'm saying? And I'll say that, look, there's a lot of activity that they do is not very cool and okay, but the organization, the structure, the strength in numbers, the family-ness of it all, you know what I'm saying? That's something that's universally good. So in the ways the Student X was talking about, like I said, that's just going to be good policy no matter what the circumstances are. You know what I'm saying?
No, I think that's some bullshit, because the rich people, they lobby the government. They pay billions of dollars every year to influence the government. They pay billions of dollars every year to campaigns so people can represent their interests. But then you tell poor people don't rely on the government. They're relying on the government. So because we can't match them in power, that's why we need to mobilize around electoral politics. That's not the only politics, but to get things done. Malcolm said by any means necessary, not by doing this and this, that only.
Yeah, utilize the government. It's not even an issue of relying on it. You should definitely utilize, because again, that's your money too.
That's your money. You're giving your money to them. Yeah.
So I want to give a shout out to Candace, man. Owens, she's still out there rocking real hard. I got a little picture, and shout out to the Lego folks, man, that's out there in Iran, man, that's putting out these pieces, man. They come out with a new a media piece on the regular, and they all fire. So a shout out to them as well.
Hey,
Yeah, Candace Owens, the best friends with Officer Tatum and also the Tate brothers. Yeah, shout her out. We were actually going to. Okay, go ahead.
The FD signified. Did you get to watch that?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I definitely watched it. I only watched the Candace Owens part. You know what I'm saying? I didn't watch the whole 2.5 hours on it, but I mean,
go ahead. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I watched the whole thing. It's not really about Candace Owens per se. It's about right-wing pundits and how they use Brandolini's law, which works because it takes more time and energy to refute bullshit than it does to produce bullshit. So that's one thing that favors them. And then the other thing that he really points out in this is that you have different types of anti-Zionism. Folks don't even know the origin and history of anti-Zionism. Anti-Zionism initially started with the Jews themselves. It started at the same time Zionism started with Jews. Then you have Palestinian anti-Zionism, which is a whole different type of anti-Zionism. And then you have the anti-Zionism of the racists, which I believe is the kind that I'm hearing a lot of, from Student X. That is all that he categorizes or calls that America's first Zionism, anti-Zionism, which is rooted in anti-Semitism. Those are like the highlights of the video.
I just know you ain't gonna let that fly, Student X. So go ahead and say what you need to say.
Bro, I mean, today in this hour that we're living in, positions I have never been more popular. You know what I'm saying? So there's no even
in your circles,
point to defend anything. You can call it what you want. I mean, there's plenty of people that cry racism, all the time, but it's, it looks silly when it's like against, another. Someone who's in a class, if you will, that historically has been harassed or discriminated against. I just call out truth. That's all it is. And right now is no better way for you to vet politicians than see what their take is on Israel. And where they're at on various bills and positions relating with Israel. You could start right there, and if they on that, kissing the wall, type of situation, then you can already discard them right off the bat, and just look and see who's left.
Yeah, but that I think that doesn't really solve the issues. That's not what the Palestinians want and what they need. So if you're not anti-Zionism, it's not based on the liberation of Palestinians. I don't know what you're doing.
Well, so I'm anti-Zionist based on their influence here in American politics and culture, and that's where my position originates. And of course, anti-Palestinian as well. I don't like how the Palestinians that have been treated, in their own land and how everything's gone down. But that goes beyond just Israel. On that particular point, you got to look at other, empire and the West in general. In that situation, as well as most of those Arabs that's getting blown to hell by Iran right now. You know what I'm saying? So
I think that's kind of I'm saying that's kind of the point. The America First anti-Zionists are looking at Israel as Israel is controlling the United States, and that's part of the problem. The Palestinian anti-Zionists who are actually dealing with Zionism in real time, in real life, the worst part of anti-Zionism, do not look at it that way.
Well, they're looking at it from what is relevant to them, which is, their occupation, so, rightfully so. But here,
yeah, but I'm saying their analysis. Go ahead.
I'm going to say it's just plain for us to see, you could go into law enforcement and look at the Israeli influence on law enforcement and how Black people and other Americans are dealt with, based on the Israeli training, that many of these organizations are receiving.
But look at what you're doing. You're looking at it as like what the impact that Israel is having on people in the United States. And you're looking at it through a biased lens that views Israel as this controlling factor. The Palestinians don't look at it. They're looking at it, Israel, as a tool of the United States. They're anti-imperialists. Yeah, they want to end the occupation. That's a whole different perspective.
Yeah, I mean,
and they both can't be. Hold on.
To one another.
No. They can't. They contradict each other. They both cannot be true at the same time. But anyway.
Wait a second. Before you say that, Mr. Floyd X, don't go away just yet. Matter of fact, Mr. Floyd X, why don't you leave your screen up? Just move away from the camera right quick. move away from the camera, Mr. Floyd? No, completely. Just yeah, I was just gonna say that, you know, I'm gonna give you guys something else to speak, but I just definitely want, you know, in closing, to definitely address, you know what I'm saying, that let me give him, hold on a second. You can be so loud, yeah. He is a super. So, anyways, all right. So back to what you guys were saying.
No, I'm just saying those two perspectives are mutually exclusive. They're, you know, they can't both be true. You know, they both can be wrong, but they both can't simultaneously be true.
Sure, they can. And then here's how: is that the United States does not have the intelligence apparatus and the ability to infiltrate into the Middle East like the Israelis do. They don't have that capability at all.
I think you agree with that.
They're totally reliant on Israel to be able to do that. That's why they rely.
Okay, so wait. I think let's establish one point. I think you agree with that, right? Afro-agnostics, because Israel is America's boots on the ground.
Yeah, that's the reason Israel exists, to do that.
Yeah, so he agrees with we agree with that, Mr. Student.
Yeah, so that's America needs that, and then hence these bills you saw looking to merge, you know, Israel intel and military in with the United States, coming about, and so then, but then at the same token, Israeli existence, you know, in terms of being able to project power, is solely reliant on the resources and tools and money and influence they get from the United States. So, like I said,
okay, but I'm saying either the United States controls Israel or Israel controls the United States. You know what I'm saying? One dominates the other. One is the rhinoceros and one is the oxpecker bird. So I mean, they both can't be.
Is what I'm saying. I'm not saying either or.
There's a
codependency. Is true. Is it codependent?
There's a codependency. But one's in control. One's the dominant thing.
Well, who got the money? Who got the money?
No. I'm saying it's kind of like this. It's kind of like this. The British Empire, and then you have India. The colonies were called dependents. Yeah, and the colonizer or the mother country was called the independent or what have you. But yeah, economically they were dependent upon the other country. But what country was the country in control? It's the United States.
In all fairness, Student X has said that, you know, he's conceded that the power is the United States, but I feel like he's arguing the influence is what what
influence is the type of power.
But it's still there is an influence.
It is, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm calling it a draw. You know, for lack of better terms. You know,
I don't like
no. It's a codependent relationship. I'll give you an example. So I had my daughter-in-law. You know, she was living, you know, with us for a number of years, and so my wife and I, you know, we finance, you know, a large part of her reality based on just different dynamics, right? You know, but the whole thing is that she was, even though that we had the money, we're paying for the house, we're paying for the bills, she had an inordinate amount of power in this dynamic because she was and is the mother of our grandchildren. So at the end of the day, you know, she always would use that as leverage on us, you know, in terms of, you know, having us capitulate to doing what she wanted to have done. You know what I mean? You know, because, you know, if we didn't do that, you know, then the threat was, okay, I could move and take the children and leave out of the house now, you know, and put them in a substandard environment, you know, then here, you know, if you don't, you know, give me what I want, you know, type of deal. So even though, you know, we had the money and the so-called power, she had an influence over the situation real heavily just based on the dynamic. And so what I'm saying is that same dynamic plays out in the United States of America, you know, in terms of what they need Israel for. You know, what's going on in Israel, and then vice versa. You know what I mean? It's a mutual codependent type of relationship, you know, at the end of the day, you know, so it's not really one over the other per se. I say that if you had to make me put a gun to my head, as I say, make me pick, I'm going to say Israel because of how their intelligence apparatus has our officials compromised. You know, at the end of the day, you know, and because they haven't compromised, you know, and these people value their position, you know, and the secrets that they have, you know, then they're able to be influenced. And that is causing. This is the only nation that has not had any Epstein fallout, you know, from, you know, or what has come about. The only country.
I will say that I think what you're describing, I will end with this, is just a power struggle. But at the end of the day, Israel exists because of the United States wants Israel to exist, and the power dynamic is skewed. The United States has the lion's share, and that's how I see it. But that's also how Palestinians see it. They're in it. They're trying to dissolve Israel as a solution because that's Palestinian land. I'm not sure if
That's what
the
Palestinians are trying to
America
do. But right now, they're still fragmented and divided among the Palestinian population. They're just trying to survive at this stage
Oh
of the
no,
game.
no. I'm saying
They prefer a
ultimately,
two-state solution, which is
if
what
you
the
read
world wants.
the mission statement of Hamas or PLO or different Palestinian groups who I work with, that is the ultimate solution. So what I'm saying is that the America First anti-Zionists don't see it that way, primarily because they're in it for the anti-Semitic reasons, because they view Israel as having this disproportionate power and influence in the United States and influence the global thing. It's the cabal of Jews. That's how the American First anti-Zionists see it. The Palestinian anti-Zionists don't see it that way.
Yeah, no, I would say America first. They're not seeing that way. How you're
Yeah, I'm
describing
in
it.
solidarity with the Palestinians, not with
Well,
how
that
white,
having been
how,
said,
For
how
sure.
that having been
racist white
said,
people see it.
Ain't no doubt about that.
well,
Yeah,
so
racist white people see it differently than how Palestinians see it.
Yeah, but what
yeah,
I'm
but you
saying
don't
is
have
that
to be racist white
from what
people.
you're
You don't
just
have to
telling
be.
me is that
They are
I'm on the side of the
because
equation.
the American First is rooted in anti-Semitism and is patriotic.
But that's not what today's movement is about, and why people are there. You always want to go
It's not the
historically
Yeah,
whole
and talk
it
about
movement.
is.
the
It's not the
name
whole.
and
It's
the
not the whole
title,
movement.
but
It's
that's
not the
not what.
whole.
Even though it might share the same name, that's not
America
what
First,
the majority of
yeah, it
people
is. America
in the
First,
movement are doing right now.
America First, anti-Zionism emerged amongst the right. The biggest advocates of it are the Tuckers, the Candace Owens, the MAGA people, and they're white supremacists. White supremacists historically are
Afro
anti-Semitic.
Zionists. Afro.
No,
Afro.
Yeah,
I
Listen.
would categorize them white supremacists.
racists are not anti-Semitic.
No, I said Candace Owens is not white supremacist. Tucker Carlson is not white supremacist. Those aren't
She
white supremacists.
said she says
Wait,
Jews
wait, wait.
can.
Well, yeah. I'm
Okay.
not. I'm not going to touch that. My question to you, Afro.
Okay.
Now, since I was going to say,
Yo,
you heard
yo.
Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter was a very specific organization that was run by certain people, and then there was the movement that was separate from that. The people that identified with the movement that didn't necessarily identify with the organization. Do you agree that that was a true act that happened?
Yes, yeah, you can say that. Yeah,
I'm
about,
saying
about
that's what
race.
I'm
Yeah.
saying. That I think there are people that identify with America first that don't necessarily identify with the thing that you're talking about. So I'm just saying that I do think that label captures those people, largely those people you're talking about, but I don't think that necessarily applies to Student X under that same umbrella. Now, he's allying himself with people, you know what I'm saying, after a fashion. But again, I'm just
You
saying
call it
that
ally, bro. It's like I said. I'm calling it how I see it. Now, it's as simple as that. That's how I see it. It's plain as day to me. The undue influence and control that Israel has had, in American politics for years. And we see it more. We see it as we speak right now.
I don't think we question that. I don't think we question that, Student X. I don't think we question that at all. So that you know what I'm saying. It was really. I mean, we're kind of getting to a semantic loop because we were talking about percentages of power and stuff like that. But the reality is, if United States goes away, Israel goes away. If Israel goes away, United States is still here.
United States existed 200 years before Israel even existed. So yeah,
like I said, that's because the real Israel is the United States. When you understand, that's what a lot of y'all don't understand.
Yeah, wait. Now that is some super dang.
That's anti-Semitic right there, man.
Well, I was gonna say that was also some definitely, so that haven't been said. We appreciate you guys for sticking in.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, share, subscribe, share. We appreciate you. Chime in, give us your comments, and again, not just about what's going on in this show, but future shows. Holla at us. Thank you for participation. And of course, you brothers, I think the utmost of you, whether I agree with you or disagree with you, you know what I'm saying? So that having been said, and peace out to our brothers and sisters that weren't able to make the show. And Mr. Floyd X, I understand you had to take care of your business. Thank you very much, sir. So that having said, peace out.